So the poem by Wilfred Owen is called Futility, and it's a narrative elegy about his reflection, I guess, on his World War One days that this could be about.
And in the first stanza, he's talking about, well, what can be interpreted as one of his fellow soldier mates who has been killed in battle. And he refers to the sun. First, he introduces the sun as kind of like a symbolic measure of what wakes them up in the morning. And he says this um, in the third line, at home, whispering of fields unsown. So the sun also wakes him up at home, as it does.
It's like an everyday thing.
Right, in war, so it's like a reoccurring symbol. And then he, in the first stanza, it talks about trying to put one of his dead soldiers into the sun to see if it might rouse him as
even
into
says,
life.
like, move him into the sun, so it's like an order. So obviously, like, he was like high in rank.
Right. And he's physically trying to move him in the sun. And it says, and it goes on to talk about his, in the second stanza, his limbs so dear. So he's trying to actually physically like awaken his body and come back to life, as if the sun is like, what would you say, like a form of like energy or something like that.
I would not like life, but like a growth almost.
Right.
That like gives life.
And kind of like gives you the sense, like when you say growth, I kind of think of like plants like growing and developing, and like as time passes.
And it also says like in the second stanza that it makes sunbeams toil. So obviously like it grows things, and then it says once woke the clays of a cold star, which I took this as like Adam, like the first man, and he just kind of arose from nothing, obviously from the Bible, and then,
right.
So that could be the symbol of like the sun like growing him.
Yeah, so
well.
like religious like illusions. And I also kind of took it as like in the first stanza, Owen shows more patience, and then in the second stanza he kind of gets almost irritated with the sun and personifies the sun. Yeah, so you see that fulcrum there, and he gets almost like irritated that the sun can't bring the soldier back to life, and it kind of shows his like maybe feelings of hatred. Yeah. And he towards war.
This is also used through his rhetorical questions, It says like full nerve still warm, too hard to stir, like question mark, like it has all this power, but it's not willing to use it.
Right, exactly. So, it's almost the sun's fault for not bringing the man back to life. And yeah, with those rhetorical questions, he's like showing his aggravation.
It's definitely a bitter tone.
Right,
compared to the first stanza, more grieving for the fallen soldier.
Right.
And then it also, the elegy, like I said before, is definitely towards the fallen soldier, and maybe even to the sun, because like since the sun doesn't come out, maybe it's like gone away and died, or at least to him, his like personal connection with the sun is no more.
Right, yeah, and especially because they says the sun, how it didn't wake them. It always awoke him, even in France, until this morning and this snow. So, and then in the a couple following lines says, the kind old sun will know. And it's almost like the sun is changed to him, and it doesn't have the capability to awake him as it once did.
And then, like, even the last line says, to break earth's sleep at all. And that means, like, oh, like, it shouldn't even come out and brighten the earth with its presence.
If it can't bring to life something that he held so
it's totally
charitable to him.
Pointless.
Right.
And then going back to his World War I illusions, it says, like, his touch awoke him once at home, whispering of fields unsown. So that's kind of like his, I guess you could say, like, his country back home, like, where he actually, like, lives,
right,
like
so it kind of shows that like difference.
And then it says it always awoke him even in France, so that's definitely allusion to his World War I
experiences. Right. What did you think because I noticed in the other Owen poem I had, his like he uses a lot of punctuation, like commas and like dashes and things like that. How do you think it added to like the tone maybe in this poem?
I think it's more of like just his adds to like the description and like the imagery, because in this one it just like describes the sun using that and questions the sun.
Right.
So it says like full nerved, still warm, too hard to stir, question mark. So it's just like his thoughts about the sun and
Right, like almost like questioning
Yeah.
his like reliance on the sun,
Mhm.
like that he doesn't have anymore.
Mhm.
Right. Okay. Well, that was our poem. Thanks for listening.